You remember it clearly. Not vaguely. Not kind of. Clearly. The logo. The line. The moment. And yet, it never happened. Or at least, that's what they say. Because somewhere out there, right now, someone is insisting that your memory is wrong. That you imagined it. That your brain filled in the gaps. But here's the problem. You're not alone. Thousands, sometimes millions of people remember the exact same thing. The same detail. The same wording. The same version of reality. And according to everything we know, that shouldn't be possible. This is called the Mandela Effect. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start simple. Picture this. A children's book. Bright colors. Playful drawings. A family of bears. You probably remember them as the Berenstain Bears. Spelled S-T-I-N. Right. Take a second. Say it out loud. Berenstain. Feels right. Sounds right. But it's wrong. It has always been spelled Berenstain. S-T-A-I-N. Not Steen. Stain. Go look it up. Go ahead. I'll wait. Feels off, doesn't it? Like something just shifted slightly out of place. Now maybe you think, okay, that's just a spelling mistake. Kids misread things all the time. Memory isn't perfect. Fair enough. But then it keeps happening. Over. And over. And over again. You remember a famous movie quote. Luke, I am your father. It's one of the most iconic lines in film history. Except, that's not what was said. The actual line is, no, I am your father. Go check it. Watch the scene. It's different. So why does almost everyone remember it the other way? Then there's the Monopoly man. You can see him, can't you? Top hat. Mustache. Suit. And a monocle, right? Wrong. He never had one. Not in any official version. Not once. So why do so many people picture it? Now here's where things get strange. Because these aren't random mistakes. They're consistent. People across different countries, different ages, different backgrounds, all remember the same, wrong version. The exact same way. How does that happen? Is it just coincidence? Or is something else going on? At first, scientists had a simple explanation. False memory. Your brain is not a perfect recorder. It reconstructs information, fills in gaps, combines ideas, and sometimes it gets things wrong. That's normal. That's human. And honestly, that explanation works. For a while. Until you start noticing something deeper. Because some Mandela effects aren't just small details. They're entire events. Things people swear happened. But apparently, never did. The phenomenon itself was named after Nelson Mandela. Many people distinctly remember him dying in prison. In the 1980s, they remember news coverage, funeral clips, public reactions. But in reality, he didn't die then. He was released, became president, and lived until 2013. So how could so many people remember a completely different timeline? That's not just a typo. That's not a misquote. That's a different reality. Now take a breath. Because this is where things start to split. Two paths. One is simple, comfortable. The brain is flawed. Memory is unreliable. Case closed. But the other path, the one people don't like to talk about, suggests something far more unsettling. What if these memories aren't wrong? What if they're leftovers, fragments, from another version of reality? Now I know how that sounds. But stay with me. There's a theory. It says that reality isn't fixed. It's not a straight line. It's layered. Multiple timelines. Existing at the same time. Parallel realities. And sometimes, they intersect. They overlap. They bleed into each other. When that happens, small details change. A word. A logo. A memory. And most people never notice. But some do. Some people remember the other version. Like a glitch. Like something didn't update correctly. Now imagine this. Reality shifts. Just slightly. Just enough to change a detail. But your memory doesn't update. You're left with something that doesn't match. Something that shouldn't exist. But does. In your mind. Now here's where it gets even more disturbing. Because some believe this isn't random. They believe it's intentional. That reality is being altered, edited, rewritten. But not perfectly. Like a rushed update. With bugs, glitches, artifacts. Sound familiar? Almost like a simulation. What if the Mandela Effect is evidence of changes being made to the system? And we're catching glimpses of the old version? Now let's slow down for a second. Because there's another explanation. A grounded one. Psychologists point to something called collective false memory. When groups of people influence each other's recollections. Media plays a role. Repetition. Expectation. You hear something enough times. You start to believe it. Even if it's wrong. It's happened before. It's well documented. And it makes sense. But here's the catch. Some Mandela effects appeared. Before the internet amplified them. Before they spread. People reported them independently. Same memory. Same detail. No connection. So how did they align? Now let's zoom out. Because the implications here are massive. If reality can change, even in small ways, what else could change? What else could be rewritten? History, events, people. And would we even notice? Or would our memories just adjust? Except for a few. The ones who remember. The ones who feel that something is off. Now here's a strange thought. What if you're one of them? What if the reason these examples feel so wrong to you is because you remember something real? Something that used to be true? Now let's lighten it for a second. Because I know this is getting intense. Imagine waking up tomorrow, and suddenly your favorite brand name is spelled differently. Or your hometown has a different name. You'd probably think you're losing it. Or you'd blame autocorrect. Or Google. Right? You wouldn't immediately jump to reality changed. But what if that's exactly what happened? And your brain is the only thing that didn't get the update? Funny, until it's not. Because here's the thing. If reality is shifting, then there's a bigger question. Why? Why change small details? Why not bigger ones? Unless they are changing bigger things. And we just don't remember. Now let's talk about something darker. There are people who believe the Mandela Effect is evidence of manipulation. Not just random shifts, but controlled edits. That someone, or something, is altering reality. And we're not supposed to notice. But occasionally, we do. And when we do, we're told we're wrong. That it's just memory, just psychology, just coincidence. But what if that's part of it? What if dismissing it is how it stays hidden? Now, to be fair, there's no solid proof of alternate timelines. No confirmed reality edits. No official explanation that says, yes, things are changing. So skepticism is important. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us from jumping to conclusions. But then comes the twist. Because even skeptics admit something unsettling. Memory alone doesn't fully explain every case. Some examples are just too consistent, too widespread, too specific. And that leaves a gap, a question, an unknown. And that's where theories grow. Because humans don't like unanswered questions. We fill them with logic, with imagination, with fear. Now imagine this scenario. Reality isn't changing randomly. It's being updated, like software, small patches, minor fixes, and occasionally, something doesn't sync properly. A few minds retain the previous version. You remember what used to be. Everyone else remembers what is. Now you're out of sync. And suddenly, You're the one who seems wrong. Now here's the part that really makes you think. If reality can change, then truth becomes unstable. What's true today might not be true tomorrow. And if that's the case, how do you trust anything? Your memories, your experiences, history itself? Or do you just accept whatever version exists right now? Maybe that's what we've always done. Maybe reality has changed before, many times, and we never noticed, because we changed with it, except for the traces, the glitches, the Mandela effects, little breadcrumbs left behind. So now I'll ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. Not just answer quickly, but feel it. What if your memories are the only proof that reality isn't what it seems? Would you trust them? Or would you let the world convince you that you're wrong? Because once you start questioning reality, there's no going back. Everything becomes uncertain. Everything becomes possible. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the Mandela effect isn't a mistake. Maybe it's a signal, a reminder, that reality isn't as solid as we think. So now it's your turn. What's a Mandela effect that you swear is real? Something you remember clearly, but the world says never existed? Drop it in the comments. Because the more we compare notes, the closer we might get to the truth. Or something even stranger. And if you want more videos that make you question everything, hit subscribe. Because next time, we might find out what's really behind the curtain. But there's something else. Something people don't usually talk about. It's the feeling. Not just remembering something differently, but feeling absolutely certain. Like your memory isn't a guess. It's a fact. And yet, reality disagrees. That tension, that's where it gets disturbing. Because your mind isn't saying, maybe I'm wrong. It's saying, no, something else is. Now imagine that happening again. Different memories. Same certainty. At some point, you stop blaming yourself and start asking, what if reality changed? Now let's go deeper. Some people don't just remember logos or movie lines. They remember conversations that never happened, places that don't exist, even people who seem to have disappeared. No records, no trace, like they were erased. Sure, there are explanations. Memory errors, imagination. But here's the problem. Some of these memories don't fade. They stay consistent. For years. So either the brain is incredibly powerful, or something else is happening. Now here's a theory. What if reality isn't just shifting, but merging? Two timelines, blending together. Most people adapt instantly. Their memories update. But a few don't. They remember the other version. That would explain something. Why Mandela effects feel so close to the truth. Not completely wrong. Just slightly off. Like two realities overlapping. And you're caught between them. Have you ever argued with someone about a memory? Both of you certain. Both convinced. One of you has to be wrong. Right? Unless you're both right. Just from different versions. Now here's the uncomfortable part. If timelines can merge, they can also split. Which means there could be countless versions of reality, all existing at once. And somehow, you're moving through them, without realizing it. Except for those tiny glitches, those moments where something feels off. Now ask yourself, if reality can change, who's controlling it? Is it natural or designed? Because if reality is a system, it can be updated, modified, patched, and like any system, it can glitch. The Mandela effect could be one of them. But here's the twist. What if it's not a bug? What if it's a test? Small changes, to see who notices. And if that's true, then every time you recognize one, you're being watched. Now take a second. What if awareness itself is the point? Not the change, but the fact that you noticed. Now let's be fair. There's no solid proof. No confirmed timeline shifts. Skeptics are right about that. But even they admit, not everything is fully explained. And that's where it gets interesting. Because even if it's just memory, why is it so consistent? Now here's the final thought. What if reality isn't fixed, but flexible, and your memory is trying to hold on to the original version? If that's true, then every Mandela effect is a clue, a crack in something bigger. So next time you notice one, don't ignore it. Ask yourself, what if I'm not wrong? Because if even one memory is real, then reality itself might not be what we think. So tell me, what's a Mandela effect you can't explain? Something you know was different? Drop it below. Because if enough people remember the same thing, maybe we're not misremembering. Maybe we're remembering something we weren't supposed to. And what happens if those memories start lining up? Not just one or two people, but thousands, all describing the same detail, the same difference, the same version that no longer exists. At that point, it stops being random. It starts looking like a pattern. And patterns mean something. Now imagine this. Somewhere, somehow, there's an original version of reality, a baseline, and everything we're experiencing now is just a modified copy. Each change small enough not to break the system, but big enough to leave traces, like fingerprints, like echoes, and maybe those echoes are what we call the Mandela effect. Now here's where it gets even stranger. What if the more you notice these changes, the more they happen? What if awareness is what pulls you closer to the truth, or pulls you further from the version everyone else is in? Think about that. What if questioning reality actually changes your position inside it? Now suddenly, it's not just about memory, it's about perception. Because maybe reality isn't something you're inside of. Maybe it's something responding to you. Adapting, shifting, almost like it knows you're watching. And if that's true, then one question becomes impossible to ignore. If reality can change, and you can notice it, then what else could you change? If you pushed far enough,